I am making an updated yubel deck profile since I finally managed to get, or will get, the last of the cards I needed, and yubel is just a deck I really like just because it's weird in the way that almost all your monsters are 0/0 attack and defense, and then just reflecting damage and dealing damage to your opponent through effects. But starting off with the monsters, I play 3 copies of Gruesome Gravesquirmer. Gruesome Gravesquirmer has the effect that if you control a 0/0 fiend, I believe it's that is. My bad. If you control a fiend, you can summon it from your hand, and then you have the option to destroy a yubel monster you control. And then if this card's in your graveyard, you can banish it to summon a 0 attack and defense fiend from your hand, and you can only use each effect of Gruesome Gravesquirmer once per turn. Next, I play 3 copies of Samsara D. Lotus. Samsara D. Lotus has the effect that you contribute it for cost to then summon a yubel monster from your, I believe, hand, deck, grave, or banish. No, you summon a yubel monster from your deck. And during your opponent's turn, you contribute, when your opponent activates a monster effect, you contribute this to change that opponent's monster effect to your opponent, or destroy one yubel your opponent controls. Or one yubel monster. And then, during the end phase, if you control yubel, which unfortunately doesn't mean a yubel monster, it has to be the original yubel. But if you have control yubel, you can summon it from your graveyard during the end phase, and you can only use each effect as Samsara D. Lotus once per turn. Next, I play 3 copies of Dark Beckoning Beast. Dark Beckoning Beast has the effect that when it's summoned, when it's normal summon, you can add a spell or trap from your deck to your hand that mentions the Sacred Beasts, or one of the Sacred Beasts themselves. But in this case, that's only going to be one of 2 cards, which I'll get to those later. And then Dark Beckoning Beast also has the effect that during your main phase, you get 1 additional normal summon of a 0 attack and defense fiend. Next, I play 3 copies of Spirit of Yubel. Spirit of Yubel can be summoned from your hand when your opponent declares a direct attack. And then all the Yubel monsters share the effect that they cannot be destroyed by battle, and you take no battle damage from battles involving them. And then if Spirit of Yubel is summoned, you can add or set a spell or trap from your deck that mentions Yubel. And then if it is destroyed, then you can special summon a Yubel from your... it has to be Yubel, right? Not Yubel monster. Let's see, where is it? Yeah, summons a Yubel from your hand, deck, grave, or banished. Right? Special summon the banished from your hand, deck, or graveyard. Yep. And you can only use each effect of Spirit Yubel once per turn. And then next, I play 3 copies of Yubel. Yubel has the effect that if this attack position card is targeted for an attack, your opponent, you can activate its effect to then make your opponent take damage equal to their attacking monster's attack points. And then if Yubel is destroyed by card effect, you can special summon a Terra Incarnate from your hand, deck, or graveyard. Next, I play 2 copies of Yubel Terra Incarnate. Terra Incarnate does the exact same thing as Yubel, except also having the effect that during the end phase, you destroy all of their monsters, or during your end phase, you destroy all of their monsters on the field. And then if it's destroyed, you can special summon a Yubel the Ultimate Nightmare from your hand, deck, or graveyard. And then I play 1 copy of Yubel the Ultimate Nightmare. Yubel the Ultimate Nightmare has the effect that if it battles the monster, then you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's attack, and then destroy that monster. Although the Ultimate Nightmare would have been a lot better if it included the effect of can't be destroyed by card effects as well as by battle. But at the time, I suppose that would have been broken. Moving on to the spells. For one of spells, I play 1 copy of 1 for 1. This lets you send a monster from your hand to the graveyard to then special summon a level 1 monster from your hand or deck. Next, I play 1 copy of Terraforming. Terraforming just lets you get your field spell. I'm trying doing this to see if I can get some glare off of them. There we go. Next, I play 3 copies of Nightmare Pain. Nightmare Pain has the effect that once per turn, you can destroy a dark monster that is in your hand or face up on your field to add a yubel or a card that mentions yubel from your deck to your hand. And then while Nightmare Pain isn't face up, and your opponent's monsters that can attack must attack a yubel monster you control. And then your opponent takes any battle damage you would have taken. So with Nightmare Pain in play, you can actually attack with the yubel monsters, and your opponent will take damage. Which, for the longest time, I felt stupid because I didn't think about that until one of my friends had pointed out that you just attack and your opponent takes damage. And then next, I play 3 copies of Nightmare Throne. Nightmare Throne is the Io Timaeus of the yubel deck, as the Io Timaeus is not searchable in Dark Magician because it says Dark Magician monster and not Dark Magician. In the same way that Nightmare Throne says a yubel monster and not yubel. So the only way of searching this in this deck, at least the way I have it built, is terraforming. Though if I had copies of Thrust, I'd be playing those to get to it. I've also thought about playing Set Rotation and what was it called? Magical Midbreaker Field, which just you give your opponent Magical Midbreaker Field, and they either leave it set and they just can't activate field spells, or they activate it and they still can't activate field spells because of the Magical Midbreaker Field's effect. But it also makes it so that neither player can target or destroy their opponent's monsters with card effects, which yubel hardly ever targets. So, there's that. Anyway, it's just a thought. I also play 3 copies of Opening of the Spirit Gates. Opening the Spirit Gates, when activated, lets you add a monster that mentions the Sacred Beasts from your deck to your hand. However, that is a mandatory add, so if you have it in hand but you don't have any Dark Beckoning Beasts in deck, then you just can't use its effect to add a monster to add, so therefore you can't activate it. It also has the effect that if you control a level 10 monster, you can add a continuous spell from your graveyard to your hand, so this also lets you recycle your copies of Nightmare Pain. And its final effect is once per turn you can discard a card, special summon a 0 attack and defense fiend from your deck. Next, I play 3 copies of Super Polymerization. Super Polymerization, neither player can activate cards or effects in response to it. You can discard 1 card to then fusion summon using monsters from either side of the field. Next, I play 3 copies of Allure Darkness. Allure Darkness just lets you draw 2 cards and then you banish a dark monster, otherwise send your entire hand to the graveyard. Next, I play 3 copies of Tokusano Shinkyojin. This is basically just a level 10 trade-in, so if you have multiple yubel or Spirit of Yubel in your hand, this lets you send it to the graveyard to then draw 2 cards. Moving on to the traps, I play 2 copies of Awakening of the Sacred Beasts. This trap only has one purpose in this deck, which is when you control a level 10 monster, you can add a continuous trap from your graveyard to your hand. So this card's only purpose in this deck is to recycle your copies of Eternal Favorite, which if you don't want to recycle Eternal Favorite, at least the way I'm doing it, then feel free to just take them out entirely. Because this is a 42 card deck, so taking out the Awakenings makes it a complete 40 deck. And then I play 3 copies of Eternal Favorite. Eternal Favorite has the 2 effects where you can only use each effect once per copy, but you can only use the effect overall once per turn. So if you have 2 Eternal Favorites, you can use both effects on the same turn, but you can only use one of the 2 effects per copy. But this first effect just lets you summon a yubel monster that's in your hand, banished, or in your graveyard. And the second effect lets you send a discard card and send this card you control to the graveyard for cost. You then basically use a Super Polymerization, fusing from either side of the field, including a yubel monster. But that is it for the main deck. Like I said, the main deck is 42 cards. And you can make it 40 by taking out the 2 copies of Awakening of Sacred Beasts, just because I'm using it to recycle Eternal Favorite. For the Link monsters, I play one copy of Salmon Great Almirage. If it'll my roll focus not on my hand. Almirage is only in here for the Link's condition of acquire a normal monster with 1,000 or less. A normal summoned monster with 1,000 or less attack. Next, I play one copy of IP Masquerena. IP Masquerena has the effect during your opponent's main phase. You can activate its effect to Link Summon using this card you control. And then a Link monster that is Link Summoned using this card cannot be destroyed by card effects. Or by your opponent's card effects. And I also play one copy of Barricade Board Blocker. Blocker is only in this deck so that you can discard a card to then, during the end phase, recycle a Nightmare Pain or Nightmare Throne that's in your graveyard. And also, Barricade Board Blocker also makes it so your face-up spell cards cannot be destroyed by your opponent's effects. So Blocker can also be a way of protecting said Throne and Pain. I also play one copy of Nightmare Unicorn. Unicorn just has the effect that when it's Link Summoned, you can discard a card, target card on the field, shuffle into the deck. And then I also play one copy of Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. Underworld Goddess just lets you Link Summon it by using one monster your opponent controls. And then when Link Summon, it negates the effects of all face-up monsters, or all... I can't remember if it's all face-up monsters on the field, or just your opponent's. Negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls, and then it's unaffected by cards, by activated effects, except ones that target, so like Infinite Impermanence will negate it, but a Forbidden Droplet will not. And then... the last effect is your opponent activates a card or effect that would summon a monster from the graveyard. Underworld Goddess can negate it. For rank 10s, I play one copy of Varudras, the Final Bringer of the End Times. Varudras has the effect where... let's see if I remember correctly. When your opponent activates a card or effect, you can detach a material to then negate that effect. And then you can detach one more material to then destroy one card in the field. And at the start of the damage step, if this card attacks while it has Xyz material, you can destroy one card in the field. And if the Xyz summon card is destroyed, you can destroy one card in the field. You can only use each effect of Varudras, the Final Bringer of the End Times, once per turn. So it's just a ranked... it's in this deck because it's a rank 10 negate that also destroys when it attacks, and destroys when it's destroyed. Then next, I play one copy of Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max. This has the effect Detach Material, inflict 2,000 damage to your opponent. But what I've actually seen some people do, at least when I'm playing yubel, is they'll realize I'm playing yubel, so they won't summon any monsters so they don't take damage. Well, that's when Gustav Max comes in, as well as Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Juggernaut LeBay. These two combined deal exactly 8,000 damage. So your opponent just does nothing, doesn't play any monsters, so to try to save themselves life points. These two will just take away their life points. As Juggernaut LeBay will detach the material to inflict 2,000 damage. Or Gustav Max does that, and then LeBay has the effect where you can detach material. It then gains 2,000 attack, putting it at 6,000, and it gets attacks on monsters for each material it has, plus 1. But you can also exceed some of this by using a rank 10... let's see, you need to remember how it's worded exactly. Machine exceeds monster. So, yeah, if your opponent just doesn't summon any monsters, then this will take away their life points. And then for the fusion monsters, I play one copy of Garura, Wings of Resonant Life. This card just has the effect that any battle damage that your opponent takes from battles involving it is doubled. And then if it's sent to the graveyard, you get to draw a card. You can use that effect. You can only use that effect once per turn. But the main reason it's here is just because it requires 2 monsters with the same type and attribute, but different names. And then next, I play 3 copies of Phantom of Yubel. I only have 2 at the moment, but I have made a trade agreement with someone so that I will get the 3rd copy of it. But Phantom Yubel has the effect that you fusion summon it by shuffling a Yubel monster and a 0 attack fiend. that is in your graveyard, field, or hand back into the deck. And then Phantom Yubel has the effect that when your opponent activates a monster effect, you contribute it for cost to then change that monster's effect to your opponent destroys a yubel monster in their hand, field, or graveyard. Or hand, field, or deck, not graveyard. And you can only use each effect of Phantom Yubel once per turn. The only part of Phantom Yubel I don't like is its effect of it cannot be used as fusion material, which I suppose had to be balanced out somehow, because otherwise you could use 2, recycle the 2 to make the third, and they can just keep recycling the Yubel fusions. And lastly, I play 3 copies of Yubel the Loving Defender Forever. I only have 2 copies of it for now, but the third copy, what I did was I had traded Yubel to one of my friends for a while, and I got Yubel back. However, he couldn't find the third copy when I got it off of him, but he has since found the third copy, and I will be getting it off of him. But Loving Defender has the effect that when it's fusion summoned, you inflict 500 points of damage to your opponent for each material it had. And its requirement is Yubel plus, or a Yubel monster plus 1 or more effect monsters. So, this is the main thing you'll be summoning with Super Polymerization and Loving Defender, and Eternal Favorite. Not Loving Defender Forever. But this one, Yubel also has the effect where it can't be destroyed by card effects. And then at the end of and when it battles a monster, at the end of the damage step, you can then inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's attack, and then banish that monster. And that is it for my Yubel deck profile. If you have any ideas what I can do to improve the deck, any ideas for decks like to see be made in the future, or decks like to see face each other, like one of my friends is currently working on making an elemental hero deck, a hero deck, so if you want, once he's done with that, we could do a hero versus Yubel match. Or, I'm just trying to think of match ideas. But, like I said, if you have any ideas, comment below. I always read the comments. Thank you for watching.